Episode 170 of Restitching the Tapestry, comparing social media.
I love doing this show with you. I love every time we come here on this show, like every week.
Ari, it's the thing that gets me through my week. I need you to know that. It is, like, I look forward to it every day, and it just, I think to myself, I'm gonna just hang out with you and hang out with those who tune in. Like, it's so refreshing.
Yeah. You keep me sane. Not just keep me sane, but like just the intellectual conversations that we have. Like it's so good.
Right back at ya. Right back at ya. So it's almost September. How are you feeling about it nearing September? I don't know about you, but I'm already ready for sad girl fall.
I can't believe it's already almost September. The time is just passing so quickly. And like I'm kind of like I'm so old. I can't believe time's passing so fast.
I feel like Rip Van Winkle. Like,
Just like I woke up and it's September and it's like wait are we doing wake me up when September ends? Is that are we too old for that joke? Do people understand the joke still?
I mean, being that it's a Green Day reference, we're never too old for that.
Yes, that's true.
There's always a fine line between wake me up when September ends and wake me up inside, if you know what I mean. Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah.
So, Ari, how have you been and what have you been up to?
Oh my goodness. So I went to a Japanese tea house today and I just had the best time having Japanese shave ice today. It was magical and wonderful. They had over 6,000 teas at this tea house. It was just great.
Oh, that sounds so fun. Show off what you got.
Oh, yes, yes. I bought a little traveling tea set. He showed me how to make tea, and so he gave me a little sample of oolong milk tea to make my own tea at home. And I was like, yes. They also have takoyaki, the little fish that
Mm-hmm.
and with the Nutella inside them. I think he also has savory ones because I was looking on their Google reviews and they have them with like barbecue sauce and also with like spring onions. And I was curious
Mm.
to try them, but I didn't know if he was still making those or not.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah,
Ooh. No, today's been a pretty good day for me. I spent most of my day, well, I mean, I spent most of my day working on stuff.
yeah.
Um Working on some gardening. I got outside, like we had like a tornado warning the other day.
I saw that. It was downpouring here, and then you talked about the tornado, and I was not surprised about that. That's crazy.
It was really so like it's funny because I got home from work and like the sun was kind of coming out, but it was like so putridly humid, like
Yeah,
overwhelmingly humid.
yeah.
And then so like probably like 15 minutes after I got home, the sky started turning like weird colors. Like it was like a weird dingy green gray.
Oh
And
my
then
God, the tornado colors.
before I knew it, our phones started blowing up with like emergency notifications, like there's a tornado warning, take cover.
Did you put
Um
that on your lawn? You're like, tornado's
yeah,
coming.
I was like, where's that nader? Where where where's that?
Yeah, that's such the Midwestern thing to do. Get your phone out and be like, I'm gonna film it.
I wasn't outside long because then the lightning happened and I'm like, nope. But it passed like 3 miles to the north of us, so like we were spared, and it wasn't like anything super extensive. But we did have some wind damage, and there was some tree damage, which was a little irritating. But you know,
Yeah,
what are you gonna do?
yeah.
So, but oh my gosh, current event snapshot. I think we only have one thing on the current event snapshot today. So, friends, get ready to eye roll. Get ready, just get ready to eye roll. Of course, you know it's going to be political, because it always is. Apparently, former President Trump visited Arlington National Cemetery.
Oh goodness.
And I'm going to be quoting an article here, but he went there to do a sort of photo op to promote his campaign.
Yeah.
So basically, he went to this place to mark the third anniversary of a suicide bombing that killed 13 U.S. troops during the evacuation in Afghanistan. The
Oh.
cemetery staff laid out guidelines in advance of the visit that had made clear that there was to be no photography during the graveside visit. In Section 60, a 60-acre plot where many veterans of recent wars are buried. That's one of the locations in Arlington National Cemetery where you're not allowed to do photography in general because
Oh.
of the recency of ooh, I just flung my thing. The recency of their passing, right?
Okay. Yeah, because when you first mentioned it to me, I was a little bit confused because I've been, you go on your like eighth grade trip, you go to Arlington and they show
Oh
like
yeah.
the unknown soldier and like I've taken photographs in Arlington. So I was a little bit confused when you said um he wasn't allowed to take pictures and I was like,
Yeah, so
so
there are areas designated where you can't do that.
yeah,
And because it's disrespectful to like the families of those late soldiers, right?
right, because they're
And
mourning.
yeah. And a person who works there confronted him or confronted his team and they basically pushed her out of the way and like verbally assaulted her. And then when the media got involved, they basically accused this person of being mentally ill.
Oh,
And it looked really, really bad. Like it was not good. So, and then of course, they very promptly turned it into an advertisement campaign or advertisement for the campaign.
oh my
You know,
goodness.
yeah. So like, and I watched the actual like the campaign promotion, and it was like a very, very cringy.
Oh my
And
goodness.
honestly, the whole like looking at the photos, it was very uncomfortable. Like there were kids doing thumbs ups like in the photos, like in front of like the grave sites, and I'm just like,
That kind of reminds me of, like, the TikToks of the girls, like, who are next to their grandfather's, like, deathbeds, and they're, like, doing TikToks next to it, and it's
mm-hmm.
like, why do you think it's okay to make a TikTok, like, right now?
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable, and honestly, I mean, I'm not surprised that it's not been well received because it was. I mean, not only the altercation, the defying of the rules, but also like the optics of the spectacle that was created just was a little unsettling.
It
A little
it
unsettling.
sounds it sounds bad. It sounds
Yeah,
bad all around.
yeah. But as far as I'm aware, I don't think there's been any other like super duper significant current events to add to our snapshot unless you think of anything.
N No, I haven't been paying attention to the news this last week, so, I've just been kind of staying away from the news recently. I've been kind of feeling election burnout recently, just because
We're not even at the election and we're already burnt out.
well, just the JD Vance stuff is kind of burning me out, and hearing about Trump stuff kind of always burns me out a little bit, and
hmm
it's just like I kind of already know who I'm going to vote for, and it's just sort of like I don't need to hear a whole lot of stuff about what's happening with the day-to-day stuff with
No, I
because
totally got that.
because the news is basically just, talking about all of the circus of all of that, and they're not talking about anything else significant right now, except maybe like Ukraine is pushing into Russia right now, and they're pushing deep into Russia, and
hmm
there's nuclear fears right now. I think that's something that's kind of big right now.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll keep an eye out and see if anything happens between now and our next episode. So, I think it's time for our show mission statement. So, it's my
Let's
turn this
do it.
week.
Yes, let's go.
We live in a dynamic society where social media shapes us by creating greater opportunities for connection. It has led to a developing understanding of the adversity many marginalized communities face, the powers causing the adversity, and those who act as bystanders as atrocities take place in real time. Our goal with this show is to have challenging conversations about social topics, current events, pop culture, and art. Together, let's weave the threads of understanding with what privilege we have in order to learn, educate, and create in a world that's growing. Mm,
I still like thinking about it every time we do a topic about how it relates. And it's just, every time you read that, I just like to think about how it relates to our topic.
Likewise, when you read it, honestly, I think it's because it really just permeates everything.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like any topic we do discuss, there is always this component where we are reflecting on, the social fabric, the pop cultural fabric of things,
yeah.
right? Um,
Because when you think about like, um, about yeah, especially like with, we'll get to it.
it's
I'm,
multi-layered.
yeah, it's interesting.
So, tonight we wanted to talk about social media. We've titled the episode Comparing Social Media because Ari and I, well, have been avid social media users since what, the early to mid 2000s.
Oh, I grew up with social media. I had MySpace. Oh, did you have a GeoCities website?
I sure did. I had a
Absolutely.
free website too.
Absolutely.
Now, so I guess leading into it, I wanted to just pose the question of what social media have you used throughout your life, and what one was the first?
Um, so again, early days of internet, I think my first social media was MySpace. But I don't think that I necessarily even had, um, when I first got on the internet, there wasn't even really a social media. It was just chat rooms, like AOL chat rooms, or I was doing AOL pen pals. I did a lot of pen
Mm,
pals, and that was kind of how I socialized. Or I was doing, what was it? I was doing a lot of like website stuff, making my own websites, and most people didn't see the websites because, there was like no way of like connecting people to your website.
hmm.
So it was sort of like I was just making those things, and it was sort of like something fun to do. But nobody really saw those things because there was no way of connecting people to those things.
Yeah.
So it
For
was,
me,
oh, sorry.
no, you go ahead.
No, no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say for me, so I call it proto social media, like so prior to like social media really booming, right? I would say like in what 2004, like I think social media started to really boom.
Yeah.
I like you, I was in those like chat rooms, like AOL chat rooms, Yahoo chat rooms,
Yeah.
um, and I was joining message boards or forums. So I was on like a variety of like Godzilla forums, like Kaiju File and Toho Kingdom. I created my own Kaiju Galaxy, which still exists.
Yeah.
Um, and then I started kind of branching out a little bit. I would say that my first social media, even before MySpace, was LiveJournal.
I was just about to say that Live Journal was so good back in the day. That really was kind of a social media, wasn't it?
It was like, and you could connect with people, you could comment on things, like things, like,
Yeah.
and like like I have like a decade's worth of like journaling just on live journal alone. Like sometimes I'll like go back to like the high school days and be like, what the hell was I thinking on August 29th, 2003? Like,
Yeah. Because I would pick up random people online through these different social networks, that kind of became like part of like lifelong friends that became part of my social identity online. So AOL pen pals, I grew to know this person in Germany named Torsten. I knew him, and I've known him since I was 14. I've known him my whole life, and throughout my various social medias, I've just always been friends with Torsten. I visited him, I dated him for a while, and we survived me dating him because I just because I was like, maybe I'll marry this guy, and I was like, oh no, that's not going to work. But yeah, so I that didn't work out. But
uh,
we still maintained friendship because it was just kind of we just have always been friends, and that's just how it worked out. But and then LiveJournal, I picked up a friend in Arizona named Richie, and I always knew Richie from LiveJournal.
oh. Oh, see, like those friends you remember so well. So it's funny. Obviously, my friend Cindy, who's been on the show a couple of times, Stream of Awareness, we met through Kaiju File, that Godzilla forum, and we were friends. Tiffany Gray, who just tuned in, we met on social media
Yeah.
a long time ago. We connected through YouTube through our love of Celtic woman, right? And so that is a very firm online friendship. But so at a certain point, it was like so I had joined MySpace in like 2005 or 6. Loved it. Like and any and all Evanescence songs were my profile songs. I
Yeah.
had like sparkles. I had like I the coding
Did you
that
have
I would
the little fairy icon?
oh, there was so many fairies. Butterflies and fairies. But
I love
anyway,
it.
so I ended up joining like these gay forums.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what the names were, but I ended up like connecting. So there was this guy, his name was Christoph,
Yeah.
and he lived in Mauritius, which is an island nation near Madagascar. It's like I believe it's an old French colony if memory serves me correctly. But like
Yeah.
I just remember like we were like smitten. We were smitten kittens. And
Yeah.
as we got older, we were like, no, not sustainable. What are we doing? But like it's like those were like one of the first formative gay experiences that I had, like just connecting with like other LGBTQ plus people through these very archaic social media sites.
Yeah.
Tiffany says, "Oh, Donnie, I just had an online bestie visit me. I saw the video you posted. That was such a wholesome video, by the way." Uh, but
There's something about it. There's something about that connecting with people online and just like having those because there was something it was uniquely millennial to grow up online and develop those relationships of people who were not in your immediate vicinity, and then developing those friendships that you grew up with them and that you kept those relationships into adulthood. um but yeah, it was like, um we were and I think that's something that made us as a generation more worldly as children, in that we were encouraged to learn about other cultures and connect with other cultures when we were young.
well, and I think so. Like late Gen Xers and millennials, we were in a very unique position because in the 90s, many of us grew up without technology for a significant portion, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
my family never got a computer until probably 2001.
Mhm.
And that's when we finally gained access to the internet. It was dial
Yeah.
up, so it was terrible.
Yeah.
Um, but like I don't even think I started learning how to use a computer until like fifth or sixth grade in
Yeah.
school even. So we did grow up in a time where like computers just like they were there, but they were so costly that families like low income families like mine just could not afford one until a certain point. But once I did gain access to a computer, like it just opened up a whole new world, like you were saying, like the diversity component, learning about cultures, connecting with people. And I spent so much time on AIM and Yahoo Messenger.
Yeah.
Oh, what was the one with the butterfly? MSN Messenger? Oh, I was
It was
on
MSN,
MSN.
yeah.
Do you remember ICQ? The little
I think
flower?
I think you had do you remember Trillian? Trillion had, like, all of the social media networks, and
Yes.
you could update, like, one and it would update all of them.
Yep, I do remember that. I also there were some other social media like some off the wall social medias that I joined. Like I don't know if you remember High Five.
I don't remember
Um
High Five now.
it's a social media outlet that's only used in like Latin America now, I think, mostly,
Oh,
but like it was like it kind of had like a small itty bitty boom right after like MySpace came out. And then but it was like so boring. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore.
do you remember Friendster?
I do. I I do.
I
I
was
don't.
never I refused to be on Friendster because I was like, "I'm on Mindspace. I don't wanna be on Friendster. I won't join your Friendster."
Tiffany says there was also Zanga. Oh, I remember Zanga as well. Tiffany says my grandmother got the internet pretty much right away because she loved online games and email. Yeah, so like I do remember for work. I think my mom, like, it was like 1998 or 99. My mom had a laptop. It was like one of those big chunky laptops.
Yeah.
It was like a gateway or something. But like I never got to use it because like I was too young to use it. So
Yeah. Oh my
and then at a certain point, as I grew older, my parents found gay things on the computer,
oh my goodness, yeah.
and I'll never. It was so embarrassing. I'll never forget. Like so, like my parents like found a photo or something of like a hot guy,
Or
and they were
just finding your journal and reading your journal
oh they
online.
and they never did that. Like, thankfully, they never did that. But
My
they
s
found
my sister found my journal.
that's wild. Ooh. Well, so my parents found like a photo of a hot guy, and it was a revealing photo, and my mom was like, "What is this?"
Oh,
And
no.
I'm just standing there. I'm like, and I was like, my friend sent this to me as an attachment in the email, and I accidentally downloaded it, and I can't delete it, and I don't know. Oh, I don't know what to do. It was her fault. And I've had these conversations with my parents since, and I look at them now and I'm like, you guys know, like I was a
That was
I was you knew what that was. Like I was a little flaming homo back then, and I was a little sponge absorbing gay things on the internet. Taylor's here. Taylor says, much of this embarrassment happened to me analog 2. Did you mean a long time ago too, or analog 2?
I used to write flourishing things that were simply not true on my live journal simply because I was just speaking to myself, writing to myself on my live journal. You know, you wrote things because you wanted to sound cool to other kids on the internet,
Yeah.
to yourself, or whatever. You were just screaming into the void about how emo and sad you were, or just whatever about thoughts that you were having, pontificating into the ether,
Into the
right?
I
Until your sister found your journal and showed it to your mom, and your mom goes, "What's this about?" And you
oh
go, "Oh, no."
I like see it's funny because I kept multiple journals as a kid. So like one of my journals was like Jesus loves me, this I know journal. So my parents were aware of that, but they weren't aware of the journal where I was just like, "Oh, my friend is super hot and I'm having a crush on him. I don't know what these feelings are. I'm going to go pray." But anyway, so Taylor says, "No, like I swore in my journal and my grandma put whiteout over it." Oh, not the whiteout. Like digital stuff got found too, but it didn't stop me there. Good.
Oh, goodness.
Tiffany says, "Yeah, my grandmother had a computer from at least when I was little, and I used to play games on her computer and play on Microsoft Paint. And she had little educational fun games that I love to play. That's nice. That's
Did you ever have
nice.
your mom clean your room to see what she could find?
Couple of times, once in a while, that would happen. Yeah, but would never find
You would
anything.
just be like, "Ooh, I'm cleaning your room. Your room is such a mess. Dig, 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 dig."
Yeah. Well, at that time, my parents probably only found nothing but like little folders of photos of Godzilla and shit because I was like, they would get so mad at me because I would like waste the printer, like the ink in the printer, because I'd be printing off constant Godzilla stuff.
They would just find French poetry in my room.
Oh, I love that.
just just Baudelaire. I'm just reading Baudelaire and feeling sad.
Taylor says, "My mom reading fan fiction over my shoulder. You're not allowed to read that. That's And then Taylor says for me, oh, well, me now writes porn for money. Oh my. So obviously, we can't talk about social media and everything if we don't talk about places like fanfiction.net
Oh
and
my
like
god.
Archive of Our Own. So I before I started using fanfiction.net, I would like write sultry fanfics. Like I remember the first sultry fanfiction I wrote was between me and a Dragon Ball Z character that I had a crush on, and it I found it recently and I read it and it
Was it
was bad.
bad?
It was bad. Like it was so bad. I was
Oh,
just
it's
like,
so crazy.
what was I thinking?
I have tried to delete all of my old, there's a layer of the internet that's like below the surface that's just like deep internet that is like locked away forever, and like servers have gone, and I'm just hoping that like there is deep internet that's just like has all of my cringy stuff. MySpace doesn't work anymore, and I'm hoping that just like all of the cringy pictures that I posted are just gone.
Mine are still there, I've looked. My terrible photo manipulations that I used to do. Oh, you remember those.
I do,
They
yeah.
were so bad. Taylor said, I never self inserted, thank goodness. Well, that's all I ever did.
I
I was
was
like, I'm gonna ship myself with every character.
I used to write stories that were Mary Sue's. Oh god, I love it.
I
I
was
love
a
a good Mary
mega,
Sue.
mega Mary Sue.
Love
Like,
it.
I was like stealing men from their wives. I was bad. I was terrible.
My Mary Sue's were more like adventure stories or like main characters of like horror stories and things like that that were experiencing like all so they had like substance to them, but they still were like Mary Sue's of like, so it was more like 50 Shades of Grey or like, you know, or like Hunger Games in that sense of like Mary Sue, where it's like obviously like this person is like brown haired, hazel eyed, oh, it's a Midwestern girl.
There was a certain point where I branched into writing original fiction, but it was still like so Mary Sue-ish. Like I remember I wrote this story about it was like this story of like this sultry dude who owned like an art shop. He was a painter, and my character, I was like this little. I worked at an ice cream parlor, and I would wait on him every week. And then like he would come to me in my dreams because he had
Goodness.
powers.
Oh, goodness.
And it was titled Sordid Intentions.
I think my first story I ever wrote, I was 8 years old, and I wrote it in a little binder. I think I typed it up for the internet, but it was called Midnight Manor.
Oh. Oh, okay.
It was a Victorian horror novel based on Stephen King's The Shining. It was kind of like that, but it was like a Victorian-esque novel
See,
about,
you're writing refined stuff. Like I was just like, oh, this Dragon Ball Z character is in the forest with me and he's hot and here we go.
it wasn't very refined at all. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Oh, so catching up in the comments. Taylor says, I did write an Oregon Trail fanfic in which my main character got married way too young, and my computer's teacher found it on a floppy disk and critiqued it. Not a floppy disk. I still have my Lord of the Rings fanfic I read in fourth grade that I should. Oh, that would be lovely.
I would love to see that.
Ari, WTF, you were so
I
advanced.
kind of want to rewrite it. I don't have it anymore, but I remember kind of what it was about. It kind of reminds me of Sarah Walters' The Stranger a little bit, but not quite the same. But it was very interesting.
I'm intrigued. My interest has
Yeah,
been piqued.
yeah.
So, okay, so obviously at a certain point we branched into like the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the TikToks, the Twitters, right? Above all else, what was your favorite social media outlet and why?
Um, I've always loved YouTube. YouTube has
Mm.
always been my favorite social media. It came about when I was at university, just before I came to university, because it was about 2006 when it came out. And I started at university at 2008. So it was just starting to really pick up a little bit. Um, but I always wanted to get on, like, I heard about YouTube because I was an early adopter, and I would because I had my own room at college, and I what I really liked about university is that they had high speed internet, and so
Oh,
I you remember those days because
it was amazing.
my parents had dial-up, so it was really hard to watch YouTube videos, and I was really excited about going to university because I could get all of the high-speed broadband internet that I could, and they had computer labs, so I could just sit and put my headphones in and just watch as much internet as I just ate it up. I would hours and hours and hours spent in that computer lab, but I had a computer from my room, and so I would just spend 12, 13, 14, 18 hours just watching YouTube, and I would consume whole channels. Like I would just watch all of these channels. They'd have 400 videos on their channels that were 10 minutes because they had 10-minute video lengths. That's how I watched all Kevin's videos. He had over 300 videos that he had posted over like a 2-year period, and I watched all of his videos. I would just watch whole
Mhm.
channels and just consume all of their content. I didn't realize that that was like a thing, like I was watching early internet lore all the time, and then I was consuming all of this media.
And what's
um
wild is that so much of that still exists, right?
yeah, it does, it really does. Early internet.
I think, okay, so what makes this a poignant full circle moment for us? Like, I met Ari through a religious diversity group. However, we bonded over YouTube because you were making YouTube videos, and then I kind of latched onto that and I was like, oh, I can express myself. Ooh.
Well, because we made YouTube videos together, and I encouraged you to make YouTube videos because I was like, because I think you were really shy about being in front of a camera at one point, and I said, I said it's really easy. You just sit down and you just start talking, and it gets easier. Like you'll start monologuing, and then it gets better. I think I said something like that to you,
Mhm.
and you were like, "I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna do it." And I said, "You should."
I'll never forget my first my first YouTube video was me in my dorm room with my flippy emo hair trying to play a solo, like probably a Disney song on my saxophone.
Yeah.
And my roommate kept coming in and bothering me and I got mad and I like had like a rant. That was like my first YouTube video on my super duper old channel.
Yeah.
But no, like I remember at a certain point, like I saw that you were doing video responses, and then I kind of quickly latched onto that, and I was like, I want to do video responses. So yeah, for me, YouTube was my favorite as well. And it's
Yeah.
just wild to think that you and I have like 20 years worth of internet lore when you think about it.
It really does, and I haven't seen all of your YouTube videos. I missed some of the videos, but I know most of the videos. Sometimes I like to react to some of your old videos because it's interesting to see like you go back and like see how you used to be because for a while you were doing that. You were reacting to some of your old videos and you were like, "Oh, look at me when I was like this." Because I didn't realize sometimes you were really catty, but it's really fun to see when you were catty because it's really fun.
I I was I was I was a mess. I
But
was a mess.
I was real catty back then too because I there was one video that I did called "You're a Little Bitch," I think it was, about the woman at the gym. Do you remember that?
Yes.
'Cause she was like, because they were holding a competition at the gym about how long you could exercise for or be at the gym. And so like I signed up and I was running. I ran for like an hour and I ran like 6 miles or something. And so I won something. I won like a sports bottle or something. And so I started working out that day that I won the sports bottle, and so the woman at the desk who was on Facebook thought that because I was a size 12, that obviously I could not be exercising the way that I could. And so she was like coming next to me, like wiping down the machine and like looking and seeing like how much I was exercising. And I was like, it was so
You
mean.
were so fired up in that video.
I was
You were
so
like, I'm done.
I was so mad. I was so mad. Like, let me just work out in peace. Like, you're so rude.
I think that's one of the videos that really encouraged me to be like, Donnie, you can be sassy and stand up for yourself on YouTube. So looking through the comments, Taylor says MySpace layouts were bomb. Tiffany says, I also miss the old days of YouTube where you would customize your channel with the backgrounds
I
and
love
colors.
that too. And
That and the video reply function, I've mentioned that so many times.
you can reply to videos now. You can reply to comments now with 60-second videos.
But that doesn't compare. That just doesn't compare.
It does,
Godzilla Kairu is here. Hello. And also misses the old YouTube days.
but you can reply to videos now by using OBS. People do, and that's what I've been doing now is I
Mm-hmm.
use OBS to do video replies.
And
Um,
feasibly, you can do that with StreamYard here too. You would just have to do a screen share and you can respond to videos.
yeah.
Taylor. Taylor says I've watched exactly one old Donnie video and it was wild. And it was probably enough, right?
I
It
also
would.
like that you could do channel comments. Remember, you could have like comments on your channel.
Oh, I do remember that too. I
Hmm.
do. And Tiffany says, and the 5-star ratings instead of likes and dislikes.
I also like that you used to be able to block people from your channel.
Now you
Like
can just like hide them or whatever.
you could hide comments, but you can't stop them from not watching your channel.
Yeah. But ultimately, getting back to what I was saying, because I really took us on a tangent, YouTube was one of my favorites, but also the other one that was my favorite was probably DeviantArt. Like around the same time I got LiveJournal, I got DeviantArt, and I spent so much time. Like I would write my bad poems on there. I would put all of my Godzilla fanfics on there. I would put on like I at one point in time tried to do Godzilla and Pokemon art. That did not last long.
So much bad art on DeviantArt. I drew so many bad drawings on DeviantArt.
I know, but see, the thing is, on DeviantArt, I had a little set of groupies who were like, "Woo! Like your squiggle line is freaking
Perfect.
the Mona Lisa."
I love it. You need that kind of encouragement, though. It's so good.
I know, and people were like, "This sad poem about death is Shakespearean." Blah. And I'm like, now I look back on it, I'm like, yikes! It was not.
I love it. We needed that kind of encouragement back then.
Oh, Godzilla Kairi says, I remember your DeviantArt. It still exists. My name on there was Majestic Insect. I have since renamed myself Eternal Mothra on there.
I
And
love
yes,
it.
I definitely like I sometimes go back there, but it's not the same as it used to be. Um, okay, so let's get into the more technical parts of the conversation. So obviously, social media. I think over the years we can assert that social media has its pluses and its minuses. How, excuse me, how would you describe the benefits of social media, Ari?
Well, obviously, we've talked at length about the different types of social media, connecting with people, just having that interaction. Um, as you age, the thing about it is that it gets harder to maintain social connections in real time with people on a time schedule. Um, Going out and having that socialization in person because of the just having the physical and mental fortitude to want to go to see each other, like, because especially like after college and stuff, we were all together at like a university in this one like place that we were all together. Um but as you get older, you move different cities. You It gets harder to be in one place at one time. So social
Mm-hmm.
media is kind of a way of keeping up with the people from your past.
Yeah.
And and staying connected to those people who you knew when you were young.
Agreed. I also like the fact that social media just shows your collected growth over the years. Like, I like being able to, like, once in a while, like, I will look back at what was I doing on August 29th, 2007, and I might go find, like, a video. I'm like, oh, wow, I was ranting about something, right? But no, like, I think it's nice to be able to see that trajectory. It's nice to be able to, like, have that level of access to one's past, right? Tiffany says, by the way, Donnie, side note, I love your old videos. They bring back so many memories of when we first became friends. Oh, that's so
See,
sweet.
I think that somewhat of a downfall of social media is having that be in the public space like that, of because if you've changed as a person since then, people kind of hold in their mind a vision of who you are as a person. And
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of, some people, not everybody, but some people don't allow you to grow and change as a person, that you become this like static image that is held to one standard that exists in one point in time of when you were young. And so if you have that social media, those old videos or those old pictures, like of what you looked like physically or what you looked like, what you were emotionally, um, you know, like my family told me a lot about, before I was diagnosed with bipolar. You were so bubbly. You were so bubbly and you were so fun, and you're just not the same person that you used to be. You just had so much energy and could just do so much, and you just aren't the same person that you used to be.
Ooh, I don't like that.
So what it is I just I don't like having old like videos and pictures of me before I got diagnosed with bipolar, because I don't. First of all, I was undiagnosed bipolar before a certain time, and so um, having that undiagnosed bipolar be out on the internet and showing what might be disordered behavior online is potentially problematic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because showing something that might not be good online, is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So because it'd be like, oh, I got 30 things done today, and it's like, yeah, it's because I had bipolar, or like being impulsive and moving across the country, and that might, is it because I wanted to move across the country, or is it because I was displaying impulsive behavior? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so it's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's a very vulnerable thing to be placed in, and I think that's what Tiffany is reacting to as well. Like, just the fact that, like, on the internet, when you when you put yourself out there so vulnerably, like, people, like, latch onto it in almost like a creepy fashion sometimes. Like Tiffany also mentioned, yeah, people dig up things you did and posted it in the past and then try to cancel you. Like that's another thing too that I think a lot of people worry about.
Yeah.
But like I know like for me, like I know like sometimes I have a really hard time like going back and reading through old journals. Like I've not gotten to the point you have and I've not been able to like delete full accounts on things because like for me like I would feel like such a tremendous loss, but I think you feel like a sense of relief and freedom when you do.
Sometimes
Um,
I download the videos and I have an external hard drive in which the videos exist, so I can watch them if I want to see them, or and I can re-upload them if I feel it necessary.
mhm.
I have re-uploaded some of my old videos. Um, and recently people have been going through and watching my old videos again and commenting on them, and it's been making me feel a certain way about it. Because it's
Oh,
before I was diagnosed, because they're saying things about them again, and they're commenting on them, and they're commenting about how I used to be and stuff, or
oh.
how I look beautiful and things like that, about how I used to look. And so I'm just kind of like,
Does it make you uncomfortable that I love that one video of you
the
calling
coming
out misogyny?
the coming clean video. I love that video. I love that
Okay.
video so
That's
much.
one of my favorite Ari videos. You all should go watch it. It's like stunning. Great video. there's just such an aesthetic of you just in the bathroom doing like a facial wash, talking about feminism and calling out misogyny and
Yeah.
racism and bigotry. It was great.
Yeah.
Tiffany said, "Yeah, I did some pretty effed up things on social media in my younger days, and I didn't realize how screwed up it was."
Yeah.
I feel like I put myself in a lot of like dangerous situations where I was like talking to like strangers who were like very
Oh yeah.
creepy.
Oh yeah.
And like I would just remember so many instances where I was just very vulnerable and I
Hmm.
was letting people, I mean, I didn't really know better, but like I was in this headspace where people were able to be manipulative of me, you know?
Same.
Now on the internet, like I know you and I both relate with that, but now on the internet, like I mean, obviously I'm in my mid 30s, I'm way more conscious about what and how I allow people to treat me, you know?
Yeah, we just didn't know. But our parents didn't know either how to treat the internet and how to educate us on how to interact on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
They were just so clueless about the dangers of the internet and how we really should um, be presenting ourselves online and how we should be talking to people, and that there were so many predators online of people who were just out to manipulate us. And um, I think that was one thing that we really learned, to teach our kids,
Mm-hmm.
the next generation. I don't have kids, but our generations next the next generation, that there are just so many predators online who are willing to manipulate the generations,
Yeah.
the kids, and that they are out there, and they will do so many things that are just so dangerous.
Yeah. Tiffany says I told you about what I did. I do remember that, Tiffany. And if you ever do feel confident and safe enough to make another video about that, go for it.
I try not to
Absolutely.
post a lot of stuff about, like, where I am and what I'm doing, and, like, dates of, like, when I'm doing things, or, like, where I'm gonna be. And, I've been talking a lot about my trip to Paris, and I'm getting a little uneasy about talking about it because I feel like I'm going into too much detail about it recently, and I'm kind of nervous about how much I've been posting about it, because I'm afraid that I'm bringing up too much attention to it, and that it
Mm-hmm.
may, I'm just worried about problems with that.
I mean, I think that's a valid fear. I would say that another downfall, considering we're talking about some downfalls right now, probably would be like the troll culture on the internet, like just people being like bullies on the internet.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know, like I feel like the in the way like the anonymity associated with the internet like emboldens people to be extra shitty, you know, sometimes. I know both you and I have dealt with our fair share of not only really disrespectful trolls but also creepy trolls.
Yeah.
Uh but like I know like they don't get to me like they used to. Like when I was younger, like they would really get to me. But now I'm just like, oh, this is just probably somebody in their parents' basement slamming on a keyboard, being angry about everything in the world, right? Um, do you ever have the desire to disconnect from social media?
Sometimes I really think that, there was a tweet that I saw the other day that said, if you got $1 billion, what was the first thing that you would do? And I said, I would delete all my social media.
Mm.
Literally the first thing I would do, I'd delete all my videos on my YouTube channel. I would delete every single one of my Facebooks, everything. I would just disappear from all of my footprint would just be gone. I would just not exist online. I might do the show with you still.
Oh,
Um, but that would be
we wouldn't talk about you being a billionaire, though. We would keep that on the down low.
absolutely. But if I got rich, there would be signs, and that the signs would be that I would not exist online anymore.
If you got rich, Ari, would you help me pay off my student loan debt?
If I
I'm
if I
kidding.
It depends on how much money I got, but yeah, probably.
Oh, we would like live on a commune somewhere.
No, no, not like
No,
that. No,
no.
I like my privacy.
Oh, never mind then. You don't want to live with me? Are you kidding me? I'm
Don't you
kidding.
like your house? Don't you like your house?
Yeah, but if you're gonna be a billionaire,
I can come visit you.
Bring on Hollywood.
It's
I'm
fine.
kidding.
I can come visit you.
That's fair. That's fair. And you know what? Completely valid for still wanting privacy and independence, right?
Yeah.
Heaven knows if I ever got rich, I would definitely want that too. I've sometimes thought about disconnecting from social media, but I also like I love the thought of disconnection completely, but I also am scared of the thought of disconnection completely. It's a very weird.
I've done it before. It's great.
Oh, I
It's
know you have.
it's so wonderful. There's a silence that comes over you, and the thing about it is that you get so much done during the day. You get so much writing done. Your brain is you're there's you I find that I'm just so less angry. There's
Mm,
so much there's so much freedom. You're just not angry. There's so many things you're just not angry about because you just
yeah,
people are talking about like, did you see such and such thing that was posted by so and so and they said this and this, and I'm like, literally could not.
yeah. I think if I could enjoy social media without like the politics and like all of that, I think it would be so much easier to enjoy, but also kind of like
But
create better boundaries for oneself.
but the thing about it is the people in power do that. They incite rage as a way of getting engagement, as a way of getting clicks and views.
It's all become like this assembly, late stage capitalism. But that's another downfall, though, there too. The
Mhm.
fact that a lot of social media is used to perpetuate misinformation and disinformation, right?
Well,
Like
and
that's become very prevalent since the pandemic, especially.
rage baiting is a whole engagement platform that people will do things as a way to make you angry, as a
Oh
way to
God.
get revenue. That's a
Being a
whole
rage baiter or what was the term? An edge lord? Remember that term?
edgelords, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a whole
Um Tiffany says online bullying. Yes, I went through that in my early internet days and I also went through it last year. Oh my goodness.
mhm.
Donnie, if I somehow get rich, I will pay off your student loan debt for you.
Love it.
Um no, so why does social media hold such an importance in culture right now and why is it such a big deal to delete one social media platform? Like thinking about like the digital transparency and digital avatars and stuff like that.
So the thing about it is when you delete yourself online, you become it's sort of like we exist in this digital space and you are a part of this digital village, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
when you delete your social media platforms, it's sort of like you are no longer participating in this conversation online. And so people again, it's sort of like people come to you and they say, did you you almost stop participating in the common internet language, netspeak,
Mm-hmm.
that you fall out of that netspeak that is quickly moving and very fad driven and
Yeah.
moved on to the next thing. So people say, "Oh, did you see so and so?" Or like think of the very demure, very mindful meme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like how
Brat
quick
summer.
how quickly did that move into our lexicon? And so if you delete your social media, nobody's gonna know. Like you wouldn't know even what that means, and you would think it was like you would just be like, "What are you talking about? I have no idea." Like, you wouldn't
You would be
have it.
missing an entire community because the truth is, social media defines so much of like pop cultural trends, art, commentaries, politics, our
Right.
language, right? Like you were just saying, our language.
And the way that we interact with people these days in cultures, is so wrapped up in the internet. It's almost like we've become cyborgs, already because, the way that we are so involved with this internet space and NetSpeak, it's become such a lexicon, such a major part of our way that we interact, in the real world, that deleting yourself from social media, removes you from a whole like community, and that you are
Yeah.
almost like it's almost like cutting your arm off.
Yeah. No, I'm glad, like, that's an interesting way of looking at it. I do think part of my fear when it comes to social media is the fact that social media for me was such a crucial outlet because it allowed me to demonstrate my existence during a time when I was minimized so much that I literally almost didn't exist. So now social media is like this validation of like, oh, here I am, I've existed, I'm still existing, and here is that legacy. And the thought of deleting it is like I think it would be very alarming for me personally. I mean, keep in mind that could change in the future. I might completely change my perspective on that. But I think especially the pandemic proved to a lot of people just how crucial social media is as a tool because that's the one thread that kept us connected during that very vulnerable time.
But I see
Um,
videos all the time of people in tech saying that literally social media is garnered towards making you depressed, that using
mhm,
social media causes depression, and that it affects your mental health in a negative way, and that it causes a culture that has poor and negative mental health.
mhm. No, I've seen that too. I've seen both arguments made between
Yeah,
that and then, oh, it promotes connection and community and all of that jazz. I
yeah,
again like and kind of like going back to we talked about AI recently. Like AI, social media is a tool that should be used responsibly, right?
yeah,
And the fact of the matter is that similar to AI, a lot of people just and institutions and political bodies do not use social media responsibly, and that usually happens at our expense, right?
yeah.
Tiffany says, I rely on social media to connect with people since I can't go out and meet people whenever I want to my disabilities. I can't drive and I'm afraid of public transportation, so I have to rely on my family to drive me places, and they can't always drop what they're doing to do that for me. And
Mhm.
then Tiffany says, I also use social media to share my music and my story.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Um, what does the future where does the future hold for social media in your opinion? Like what platforms do you think will still exist in 10, 15 years, etc.? Ooh,
I think Instagram's gonna die.
I think Facebook and Instagram are going to probably fade out. Um, I agree with you. I think Instagram first probably will. I honestly think that X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, is probably gonna.
I think X is gonna die too. Yeah.
But
I
the
think
thing is,
I think it's
I
gonna get replaced with something else, but I'm not sure what that is yet.
yeah,
I think in 15 years we're not gonna know. We're Instagram is gonna be like one of those things that we're gonna be like, oh,
I think places like TikTok and YouTube have good longevity. And YouTube, especially YouTube, with all the competition that's been presented by TikTok, I think has done well at promoting short form content because I really think that's what's. I mean, we've seen the trajectory already. Short form content really garners a lot of.
because how often do you use Instagram? I don't use Instagram at all.
I use it sometimes, but mostly just to post announcements and stuff like that. Like, I don't post reels or anything like that.
I post on YouTube. I post maybe on Twitter, maybe, but not really. And I post on
Maybe, but not really.
or I post on my Facebook,
Right.
but not usually. Maybe I won't even post on my Facebook. I'll usually just post on YouTube, maybe.
For me, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, those are like, that's my trifecta.
Yeah, but
Sometimes I will yearn for the days where I'm just like, I just want to like crawl into a hole and post on DeviantArt. Like, that's like, but it'll
but
just be me screaming into the void.
I will never post on Instagram. Instagram is I use Instagram as a tool of like I might post pictures on there sometimes. I might post rants on there sometimes, but I don't use it as a serious social media. It's a tool that I use sometimes as a dump bucket.
I don't. So, last question for the night. How do we ultimately create a balance between forging ourselves in reality versus the digital reality?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know, man.
It's hard. It's hard to, depending on the day, I might answer it differently. I think for me, I would say that the pandemic really taught me the importance of creating that balance because there was so much negativity happening, right? That's when I started picking up gardening again and why that kind of like gardening became like an anchor to reality for me where I could just go out and like live amongst the plants and be like, "Ah, sunlight."
Yeah. What I do is I journal. I have like 6 journals for things, research journals and meditation journals, and, um, if you want a journal, Donnie, I'll write you a journal.
You know I love a journal. I still have our journal that we would switch back and forth. I need to send it back to you.
Because instead of writing letters, I write journals, but the thing about it is, I I don't like posting ideas on the internet sometimes because I'm always afraid, my delusional thinking. I think that sometimes people will use things against me as a form of sabotage or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
but the thing about it is I like sharing ideas about things. I like putting ideas on paper. And so I like to journal because it gets my ideas out of my head because I have these like deep, intricate thoughts about things and I like sharing them. And so it gives me that drive to share without
Mhm.
other people seeing it.
I love that though. Tiffany says, I want MySpace back, damn it. Tom, I miss you. Yes, I miss Tom too. I guess for me, I've just learned that. Do you want to know what keeps me anchored on social media?
What's that?
What we do right here.
Absolutely. I love this show. We said it at the beginning. I'll say it at the end. Let's bookend it.
Perfect. Let's bookend it. Everyone, we love you. Don't forget to click like. Don't forget the algorithmic things. Click like, leave a comment, subscribe to our channels.
We're on
Uh,
Apple Podcasts now. So if you have an iPhone, you can listen to us on there.
Yes. Yeah, we're on almost every streaming service now. Ari's been hard at work getting us out there. If you've not subscribed to obviously this channel, then you're listening. I'm surprised, but subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to my poetry channel, Donny Speaks. Subscribe to Ari's channels, Strange Nothings, Bucha Baby, and Tarot Time with Ari. And everyone, we love you and thank you for always supporting us. Have a good rest of your day. Use social media responsibly.
Bye.
Bye.